This world the human is living in is a world of contradictions. On one side, there are air, water, food, and many other extraordinary arrangements necessary for providing and sustaining life. On the other side, there is war and riot, murder and destruction, disability and disease. Here, on one side, there is the human who does not want to die, who wants to live in blessings, who cherishes beauty and joy, and enjoyment and exhilaration, and more than anything else, who has a sense of right and wrong. On the other side, the human is compelled to die, is a victim of deprivation and despair, is troubled by uniformity and boredom, and is forced to see good being done to those who are bad and bad being done to the good. In this world of contradictions, if there is no divine guidance, then there is no story on this earth more meaningless than the human story. In the human story today, we will see two such earlier humans, one of whom looked at this story with divine guidance, and the other saw it without, and thus established the examples of the best and worst behaviors for humans to come till the day of judgment. Human being is the only creature in this world who kills people like him without any right. Such killers often evade the reach of law. But even if the court of humans punishes the criminal, how can compensation be made for the loss suffered by the victim and their family? This punishment can neither bring the victim back to life, nor can it return to the children their father. The mastery of humans is that they have, in the form of war, invented an organized system of mass killings where millions die. The nations declare the killers national heroes and honor them. For tens of thousands of years, humans have been like this. Such a situation can deeply disappoint any sensitive human. However, the glorious Quran narrates the story of Adam's, peace be upon him, two sons, which encourages us to live in such a discouraging situation and also outlines the correct course of action. This incident is about both of them offering a sacrifice to God Almighty. Therefore, before proceeding, it is essential to understand the sacrifice. The human world is running on a fundamental principle from day one. Resources in the world are limited, and whatever are, they are distributed unequally among people. Here, some people get more, and some get less. According to the glorious Quran, one of the reasons God Almighty has created this situation is that those who receive more are tested whether they spend their wealth on others for God's pleasure or remain insensitive. While those who receive less endure with patience or through injustice and exploitation, try to increase their wealth. Those who receive more have been commanded to offer their wealth in the way of God. This wealth is distributed among the poor and needy. Sacrifice was the first practical implementation of this principle. Two things are combined in it. One is its purpose and reality, in which humans symbolically express that their wealth and life are dedicated to the Creator who gives them everything. And the other is its consequence that the hungry be fed and the needy helped. The enemy of humans, Satan's effort is to create fear of poverty among people and prevent them from spending their wealth. But when it comes to spending on their desires, he encourages them abundantly. Satan scares you of poverty and tempts you to spend on lewd things. And God from his own self promises you his forgiveness and his bounty, and God is very munificent and all-knowing. The two sons of the prophet Adam, whose incident of offering sacrifice is narrated by the glorious Quran, are mentioned as Abel and Cain. But this incident is not just about two individuals. Rather, they are also two characters that show how humans trapped by desire and vanity become Satan's targets, and in contrast, how the attitude of righteous individuals is based on fear of God. Abel presented his best animals before God, and Cain, with difficulty, presented just a few fruits to relieve himself of the burden. Abel's sacrifice was accepted, but Cain's was not. Cain got inflamed by vanity, jealousy, and anger, and threatened to kill Abel. Narrate to them, in all truth, the tale of Adam's two sons when each of them offered an animal for sacrifice. Then the offering of one was accepted, while that of the other was not. Then he, whose offering had not been accepted, said, "I will kill you." Since revered Adam was a prophet, it is likely that this information was conveyed to his sons through him. Or there might have been another sign through which this point was made clear. That is, whose sacrifice was accepted and whose was not. The purpose of giving this information was probably to encourage people to follow those who spend their wealth for God's pleasure enthusiastically, and to present more wealth before God, thus making the inclination to help deprived humans common. But it also had another consequence, which emerged in the matter of Satan. That is, revered Adam's superiority wounded Satan's pride, and he became ready for rebellion and disobedience. This same Satan poured his poison into Cain, and Cain, instead of considering his lack of sincerity and action, took Abel's acceptance as his humiliation and jealously became determined to kill him. Abel's response to Cain's threat was very wise and insightful. God accepts the offerings of only those of his servants who fear him. This statement by Abel was a decent way of drawing Cain's attention to the fact that God makes every decision based on justice and merit. If Abel's sacrifice was accepted, the reason was that his intent was purely to attain God's pleasure and closeness. Therefore, Cain should, instead of envying, create this quality in himself. With that, Abel also said, "Despite knowing your bad intention, I will not take the first step. However, in defending myself, whatever loss you suffer, the responsibility will be entirely on you, because you will commit injustice and also compel me to respond. After that, your destiny will be hellfire." Abel said, "If you raise your hand on me to kill me, even then I will not raise my hand on you to kill you. I fear God, Lord of the worlds. I want that, if you have decided to kill me, then you bear the burden of your own sin and that of mine as well, and be among the companions of hell. This is the punishment of such unjust people." Abel's words shook the inner Satan of Cain, because he knew that Abel's sacrifice was accepted due to his righteousness, and the real culprit was none other than Cain himself. But the tides of envy, arrogance, and anger in him strangled the voice of his conscience. He murdered his brother Abel and fell victim to the eternal loss. Even this did not stop him, and his soul finally persuaded him to kill his brother, and after killing him, he became one of those who procure loss. Through this incident, we come to know that when someone embarks on the path of evil, then further avenues of evil are opened for him. In other places, the Quran has presented this matter that such individuals are handed over to Satan, and only he guides them. Cain indeed murdered his brother, but he couldn't erase the mark of his crime. In the meantime, a crow came and started digging the earth. Seeing it, Cain understood the way to conceal the evidence of his crime by burying his brother's corpse, and he regretted that he didn't even have as much wisdom as the crow. Then God sent a raven who began digging the earth to show him how to hide the corpse of his brother. Seeing this, he cried, "Woe be to me! I could not even be like this raven so that I may have just hidden my brother's corpse." Thus, he was very ashamed on this. The Quran's last point illustrates how the conscience of those who dwell in evil becomes dead. Such people feel no shame in killing an innocent brother. If they feel ashamed, it is on learning to hide the mark of their crime from a crow. The tribesmen of Cain are being born to this day. As a result, human history has become a chronicle of oppression, rebellion, murder, plunder, and bloody wars. To prevent murder, plunder, and injustice, God has declared the sanctity of human life above all else, declared killing a person akin to killing all of humanity, and gave the principle of a life for a life. But history confirms the angel's concerns that whenever human volition becomes unrestrained due to desires and vanity, the cycle of oppression, mischief, and bloodshed continues to spread. Seeing such oppression and mischief, many people conclude that there is no God here to establish justice and fairness. Man is just an advanced animal more adept at killing than other animals. However, the glorious Quran presents another perspective on such events. If people like Cain don't indulge in evil, oppression, and mischief, then the greatness of characters like Abel won't be evident either. Abel's fear of God becomes truly prominent when it is understood that he also had the choice to kill Cain, but he did not come forward to use it. If he wanted, he could have also presented a sacrifice devoid of sincerity and soul, like Cain, to show the world, but he presented his best offering to God with complete love and eagerness for sacrifice. The attitude of Abel and individuals like him will prove in the hereafter, in front of all creatures, that those being offered the kingship of the universe are indeed worthy of that position. Ignorant individuals make the existence of evil in this world the reason to deny God, whereas, in fact, the presence of this evil in this world is not evidence of God's absence, but rather proof that the day of judgment will definitely arrive, when God will establish his court and decide on every matter with perfect fairness. The human favors justice and fairness by nature. His nature desires that good always happens to good people, and the wicked meet their end. Humans have established the entire system of punishment, reward, law, and justice in this world based on this very principle. This entire system is based upon the concept of vice and virtue rooted in human nature. However, it is also a fact that often an innocent Abel is unjustly killed, while Cain goes unpunished. Even if Cain is punished, Abel cannot be brought back to life. There are many Abels who, instead of receiving rewards for their goodness, pay the price for their good deed. Human conscience demands that there should be a day when complete retribution, punishment, and justice should prevail. It is the grave of my young nephew, Abdul Sami, who was hit from behind by a car while riding his scooter. He fell on the road, and then a truck ran over him without stopping. Abdul Sami lost his life on the spot. The drivers of the car and truck fled the scene. My mother couldn't bear this shock and passed away after some time. That is her grave. Abdusami was a student of media sciences. He had, along with me, made a reformist drama titled Assume Again. My intention was that once his education was complete, we would work together on many such projects. Had he been alive today, he would have been a part of the Human Story team. I had never even dreamt that Abdusami would become a part of the Human Story in this way. What happened to Abdusami doesn't happen to most of us, but in our knowledge and observations there is always someone like Abdusami. Whether young or old, we often depart from this world without completing our tasks. However, we don't want to die. Apart from the desire to live forever, there is a taste for beauty in us. This taste for beauty makes us appreciate everything like beauty and youth, colors and light, fragrance and culinary flavor, instruments and vocals, songs and music, and exhilaration and ecstasy. But the tragedy of this world is that here, neither man remains nor his favorite things persist. In response to this human quest, the glorious Quran comes and provides hope and transforms human tragedy into hope. The Quran tells us that the Creator, who created this magnificent universe and provided countless means of life on this earth, is not so weak that he cannot bring the dead back to life. He is not unjust to leave the accounts of oppression prevalent in this dark world unanswered. He is not devoid of good taste to give the man a desire for eternal pleasure and not fulfill his wishes. He will bring back to life those buried in graves. He will fully repay every good and evil deed. He will place those faithful ones who, while in obscurity, use their power and authority for goodness in the gardens of paradise. It will be that paradise where things like life, youth, beauty, enthrallment, and ecstasy will be given to those people forever who acknowledged God when invisible and did good deeds. As for criminals, they will not be able to escape his justice. It is God's promise. He does not go against his promise. When a person understands that this world is just a page of the book of life, not the complete book, he acquires the wealth of peace of heart that has no substitute in the world. Whereas those who deny this reality always live in uncertainty and anxiety. The deniers of God and the hereafter may spend their lives in whatever way, but when, due to old age or illness, they see death standing in front, their despair reaches its peak. In such situations, the human seeks refuge in a multitude of false hopes and meaningless philosophies. The arrow of consciousness remains embedded in his soul as he feels he is descending into oblivion. And after the darkness of death, there is no hope or a ray of life left. However, believers, at the time of death, are like a person sitting in the departure lounge of an airport, who, after a long journey, is returning home and is enthralled by imagining the moments to come. Those who don't believe in God say that these are imaginary dreams, false hopes, and empty desires. However, in the human story, we will see that is not the case at all. Human nature, the signs of God's power scattered throughout the universe, and those divine rewards and punishments dispensed time and time again in this world, whose details we will see at length in the following episodes, prove that the life of the hereafter is not a mirage but a truth that every person will confront. But, for the sake of argument, even if we take it as a dream, still, what's the harm in seeing this dream? Those who see this dream don't lose hope even in the worst of circumstances because of their faith. No blessing of the world is forbidden for them, and along with enjoying those blessings, they also find spiritual peace by worshiping God. Along with that, by saving themselves from moral evils and treating others kindly, they give exemplary humans to society. If such people die, they die in a state of hope. After that, let's assume even if they were wrong, what harm would come to them after death? But if the Quran is true, then the deniers should consider what will happen to them. Even if God's mercy does not give them any punishment by displaying the abundant blessings of paradise, if He only says, "All of that you could get, but lost due to your stubbornness," for such deniers of truth, that would be punishment enough. Even according to simple logic, the believers' lives and deaths are much better than those of deniers. In chronological order, the glorious Quran mentions Prophet Noah's nation, after Prophet Adam and his sons. Historically, we cannot determine their exact time, but we can estimate that a long period had elapsed from Prophet Adam to Prophet Noah. Based on the knowledge of history and anthropology, it is estimated that during this long period, the human race diversified and spread, and the entire earth came under their usage. Thus, the settlements, cities, and civilizations emerged. However, the more humans progressed in terms of civilization, the more they distanced themselves from God. With the abundance of blessings and advancement of civilization, polytheism also spread throughout the world. It is claimed that humans gradually transitioned from polytheism to monotheism. The supporters of this viewpoint have only one argument. In prehistoric times, they found some traces of polytheism and no trace of monotheism. But the question is, how could traces of monotheism be found?
It is a very beautiful question that yes, we don't find signs of monotheism. You see, the sign of monotheism would be the absence of the signs of polytheism. That is, polytheism is a tangible entity, while monotheism is not. We will find signs of idol worship where there was no opposition to it. Since idol worship has been around for a very long time, we also see idols. If there are no idols, there is only monotheism.
In the Prophet's religion, there was never any worship of a creature such that its relics would have remained, nor was there permission to make a statue of God so it could be discovered from somewhere and then presented as proof of monotheism. As for polytheism, its proliferation from the very beginning is not proof that the start of humanity was through polytheistic religions. It is the result of that challenge of Satan in which he particularly targeted monotheism. A question arises. Despite believing in one God, why did people associate others with Him? Why did they not accept the natural and rational concept of monotheism? The fundamental reason is that mission of Satan in which he diverts humans from the straight path of the servitude of God towards his disobedience. Many human weaknesses have assisted Satan in his mission, and he has consistently afflicted people with polytheism in every era. The second reason is that humans are more inclined towards visible things than unseen concepts. God cannot be seen, and there has always been prohibition to make his idols. However, creatures are visible, and their idols can also be made. A third reason is the superstition of humans and the relationship of fear and reverence with creatures.
See, wherever polytheism took place in the world, it has been driven by blind devotion. For instance, in the traditions about Noah, it is mentioned that 5 idols were worshipped in his community, as referenced in Surah Nuh, Suwa, Yaguth, Yauq, and Nasr. These 5 elders were, in fact, pious people who worshipped God.
After Adam, there were some righteous servants of Allah who used to worship Allah. When they passed away, people started placing stones in their memory, thinking, "We are sinners, but we will remember these righteous individuals."
After they departed from the world, people felt it would be disobedient to God if they did not give a special protocol to those pious souls. Loving the pious is a sign of faith, so in their love, they made their statues and started bowing to them and asking them for help, which is similar to what happens at shrines today.
Despite being told repeatedly that there is a hadith in Sahih Muslim advising not to build structures over graves or make graves solid, they insist on building structures, claiming it gave them spiritual motivation. Gradually, the next generation started carving those stones and making images on them, turning them into models. These are the 5 idols mentioned in Surah Nur that the people of Noah used to worship.
Behind every act of polytheism is this blind devotion, which has led humans to become polytheists. It is the main reason behind polytheism. And then, sometimes, people commit polytheism because of the outward splendor of certain things. For example, saw the sun and the moon, found them so beautiful and serving so well, and started prostrating before them.
Another reason for the proliferation of polytheism was the prevalent relationship of humans with their rulers. In human societies, if people could reach a ruler's confidant, they could get a decision in their favor through him. It became easy for demons to develop the notion that by appeasing the righteous people who are close to God, making them pray to God for them, presenting offerings to them, or worshiping them, God will decide according to people's desires based on the recommendations of those righteous, or he will grant those close to him the authority to bestow blessings to whoever they wished. All these factors combine and lead to the creation of polytheism. Once it is created, it spreads like an epidemic. To end this very situation, the arrival of a series of prophets started. Who are the prophets, and how do they become the greatest evidence of God and the hereafter? We will understand it through the circumstances of the life of Prophet Noah. Till then, Allah be with you.
जहाँ से तूने कहा था मुझे यहाँ से निकल जहाँ से तूने कहा था मुझे यहाँ से निकल मैं अपनी ज़ात से निकलूँ मैं अपनी ज़ात से निकलूँ पर